Carved into the German landscape is a racing circuit as famous as motorsport itself. Twisting and winding through green forests and zipping past towns, the Nurburgring was built as a public works project in the 1920s, but the purpose it serves today is the pursuit of speed. Tonight on the newer, more modern Grand Prix course, it's round 2 of the 2023 Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge Canada. After the opening round in Montreal last week, it's a trip to Porsche's home country for the second event of the season. The roar of naturally aspirated flat six engines are ringing in the mountains, and it's time to go racing. Hi everybody, welcome to the Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge Canada. My name's Kyle Heyer, joined by DJ Clark tonight. DJ, welcome aboard. So excited to be back. This is one of my favorite series that I've ever been a part of. This is absolute racing. This is Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge Canada.
Yeah, it most certainly is, Kyle. Absolute elbows out, good, clean, fair racing among all of these drivers. What we saw last time in Montreal was absolutely electric. And I got to tell you, coming here to the Nürburgring, one of the most historic circuits of them all, this is going to present a great challenge here for these drivers, but it's also going to present plenty of opportunities to get a pass done, plenty of opportunities to get things wrong, and it is going to put up one crackerjack of a race.
This track 5 kilometers around here, DJ. It is a fast-flowing circuit. We're on the Grand Prix configuration. This is the version that the WEC and BEC use. This is the version with the faster chicane. And here's a look at that, the track map here. 16 corners on the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit here, DJ. And it's fast and flowing through all but a couple of them where you're down to first, maybe second gear to slow these flat six engines down to almost an idle.
Yeah, and watch out for one of those slow areas being the complex going through turn 1 to turn 5, the Mercedes Arena section. You'll hear us talk about that a lot as you really and truly have to get onto the binders there going into turn 1, but it opens up a fantastic run through the corners where you can go side by side through all of that. Then you're going to lead the way down onto the hill here, down into the Dunlop chicane, or Dunlop hairpin rather. Kind of looks like an overtaking zone, but don't look too heavily on it. And then because we're running the faster chicane layout at the very end, look for some overtaking there at the end.
Yeah, certainly going to be a great passing opportunity. And then down into turn number 1, as you mentioned. Here's a look at the racetrack. We're in qualifying right now. 20 minutes on the board for drivers to set their fastest lap of the day. But before we take you down there, let's remind you how we kicked things off last week and how we kind of finished things out. Here's a quick look at our season standings after round 1. Racine Fizzouli for Porsche Center Rive Sud in the lead with 324 points, 40 points ahead of Porsche Center Lausanne with Antoine Lacharite.
Yeah, Etienne Leger putting in some good numbers there. Good battle with him between himself and the 4th place driver of Guillaume Levesque. Alex Bergeron not too far behind. Jean-Gagnon Renault sitting there as well with some good battles. I think the big name that is on this list here that I'm going to be looking for to probably jump forward here today is William Almeida there with 229 points. He was one of the fastest drivers last season. And I've got to imagine he's going to win and repeat it here today. Didn't have the best luck around Montreal, but he's going to be looking for a change of fortunes here today.
You never count him out. Here's a look at the rest of the field here. Phil Bouchard had some issues last week at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. He's looking to kind of right the ship. So is Andrew Caron in his machine with the Halifax Porsche Center. And the Porsche Center piece, DJ, this is an important change to the championship this season. The Porsche Centers have basically elected drivers to compete for them, representing the Porsche Centers around the Canadian soil. And there's a championship within a championship here. Yes, the drivers are competing, but the Porsche Centers are putting all their efforts forward to compete against each other as well for some prizing, not only for the Porsche Centers, but for the drivers. The first place in the Drivers' Championship receives a big prize package that includes a spot at the Porsche Track Experience program at a 2-day performance level, bridging the gap from virtual reality, as well as a Tag Heuer connected watch, some Bose gear, as well as Porsche Motorsport swag. So lots of things on the line, and those Porsche Centers, they're competing, and it's going to be a vigorous fight all season long, DJ. It's going to get pretty wild.
Yeah, I think it's going to get very, very crazy. And as it continues to go along, watch for some teammate tactics to maybe come into play, especially when we get to places like Spa-Francorchamps or even the Red Bull Ring, where drafting is going to be a huge part of that. Watch for, well, for lack of a better term, teammates there among the Porsche Centers to start playing nice with each other and maybe have a little bit of fun.
Yeah, certainly. There's Josiah Farrow, the number 915. That's Porsche Center London in the 915 car. Chris McGraw currently on provisional pole after only a couple laps have been set. There he is, Porsche Center North Toronto, now booted to second place as Giovanni Romano and Curtis Fung go quicker. Now he's back to third, and we're going to see times go up on the board a lot here in the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, we certainly are. Track temperatures right now at about 72 degrees Fahrenheit, so you're going to want to have about a lap or two to get these tires up to their perfect operating window. And now that we are on about the second lap of qualifying, you're going to see drivers starting to push a little bit more, those laps starting to fall. As we ride on board here with Alex Ellis, obviously the Porsche Center Markham driver in the number 5 right now, working his way up the hill towards the Michael Schumacher S. It's a very tricky section of track. You want to try to take as much of that curbing as possible, but you could see there from the onboard the gravel traps waiting for you just outside the limits.
You have to be aggressive here to make speed. This is one of those tracks that you can really go hard. It's got plenty of camber and banking to lean on here in some sections, but DJ, if you step out beyond the bounds too much, you can get yourself in trouble, not only with the stewards, but with the Armco barriers around here. You can find your way into a wall at a couple different places, but Alex Ellis right now chasing his teammate as they head into the chicane.
Yeah, and that's going to be a little bit of that teammate gamesmanship that I talked about. I guarantee you Alex is going to be wanting to pull a little bit of a draft here off of them. There are some long straightaways, particularly on the back half of this circuit. And it looks there that Sulio and Alex Ellis just kind of playing nice together there. They're going to cross over the line. Let's see if they've got a good time here. Ellis is going to be able to jump his way up into 13th at the moment. Sulio a little bit farther down in the order, I believe.
Yeah, Sulio 22nd right now. As it stands at 2:05.492. The best lap is about a 1:55.275 by Racine Fizui. Antoine Lacherie in this 21 was one of the race winners last week, and he's going to be one to beat all season long. But remember we have this invert between our two races. We have a sprint race that's 15 minutes and a longer race that's 30, DJ. And then we had an invert, and Antoine was not able to overcome that invert in race number 2. The competition is that close and that fierce this season.
Yeah, it is very, very crazy up at the top here. You're going to see drivers. I don't think you're going to see a whole lot of repeat winners here necessarily. That is just how good the competition is here as we ride on board with Antoine Lacherie right now, the Lausanne driver, making his way around the corners again, taking that fine balancing line between pushing as hard as possible and making sure that you're not going to dip a tire off into the wrong area of the track. The 21 looking like he's doing it to perfection here. He's got a big amount of time to make up to Racine Fizui, 0.6 of a second. That's a pretty big gap around a circuit like this.
And that's really impressive that Fizui's been able to go that fast as well by 0.6 up on everyone else. But it's still pretty early here in the session. Still 12 minutes to go, so lots of time for drivers to go faster. Here's Justin Ream in the number 7 car, the Porsche Center Calgary team. Good looking livery on this, nice shiny in silver, easy to spot from a distance. And he's heading over the curbs there. As Andrew Caron jumps up to 2nd place in the 06. That's for Porsche Center Halifax.
Yeah, and that's going to cut the gap down to the lead to about 0.3 of a second. Still a pretty sizable margin there for Fizui, but Caron, we saw some good results out of him last time around. He'll be looking to push his way forward. Young Gagnon Renault able to put in a time that's going to be good enough for 6th place. As there, Alex Ellis is now going to jump his way up to the top, and he'll be up in P4.
Yeah, 1:56, 1:57. That was good enough for 4th for a moment, but Etienne Leger, who was up front at the tail end of last week in race number 2, that time a 1:55.669 puts him 3rd on the board. Good lap there for the driver competing with Mark Motors.
Yeah, good drive there for him at this point. Again, we still have plenty of time left to play here. About half of this qualifying session left to go. The number 2 could have a little bit more in the tank. Now remember, because of some of the rules, you're not going to necessarily see these drivers just pulling off and taking a tow here. You've got to come back down into pit lane and manually get new tires put on this car if you want to go out and set some more laps. So I'm going to be curious to see what that crossover point is. We're going to see here at about the halfway point if drivers decide to come in and take those tires or if they're just going to stay out and keep pushing on older rubber.
Yeah, I like this change, DJ. It forces you to be strategic about when you go out and for how long. But I think for the drivers, it's another piece of strategy, right? You can't just reset the car and go back to pit lane like you could before. You have to drive all the way back down to pit lane, pull into your pit stall, manually reselect a new car, then go back out on the racetrack in an effort to kind of keep things a bit more even and fair and keep the track clear in a qualifying session that is this frantic. There are over 40 cars scheduled to race here tonight, DJ. It's going to be a frantic session, even with 20 minutes and everyone cooperating.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very frantic out on circuit, and so drivers are going to have to watch out for other cars around them. I've seen a couple of cars that have gotten things wrong and had to pull themselves off to the side to let a few others on by. Here is Vincent Trepanier right now for Porsche Center Edmonton. he is going to be one of those drivers taking that strategy that I talked about, coming down into pit lane, getting a fresh set of boots on the car. I can tell you right now that Fazui, Legier, Bergeron, Bartley, Johansson, and Bouchard all look like they've already done that. So they've already come back down into pit lane, and they're on an out lap right now on a fresh set of tires.
Yeah, and we'll see what that does for them as the track kind of gets some rubber put into it as we go throughout this session. Zornretta Savage in the number 34 gets up inside the top 10 for Porsche Center Winnipeg in the orange and black car. Young Ganal Renault was 10th, gets booted down to 11th as Guillaume Levesque for Porsche Center Lausanne up to P2.
Yeah, good run there for Levesque, and that very familiar livery that we were used to seeing out of the ASR by Abel teammates last year, but able to put down a 55.578. That's going to bring the gap down a little bit more to Fazui, but it is still a 0.302 seconds. There's still a pretty big gap there to try to make up as we take a look on board here with your provisional pole sitter, Razim Fazui, down through turn 1.
On board with him here as he heads into this tight stadium section here at the Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit. This is really a handling section. You're leaning on the mechanical grip of this Porsche 992 GT3 car. It performs excellently here, but the aerodynamic components are not able to produce enough downforce to really grip the road as they can in some of the faster corners. So you're slipping and sliding around a little bit, even on the slick racing tires. As you get further in the lap, you lean more and more on the downforce until you get to those fast S sections on the back half of the circuit. Racine right now looks very cool and collected, very tidy lines to the first half of the track.
Yeah, very tidy. It doesn't look like he's pushing too hard here at that point. Maybe a little bit of a snap. Oh no, he's weaving the car back and forth, trying to get some heat into those tires. So I think this is probably going to be a bit of a scrapped lap for Racine. He's going to just try to get the push lap here on the next lap around.
Yeah, still qualifying here for our 2 races. We have, again, a sprint race followed by a slightly longer race, 15 minutes and 30 minutes, respectively. Etienne Leger up to 4th place. Another good lap for him in the number 2 for Porsche Center Mark Motors. He's really come on this season. Ran in the GT4 category back when it was a multi-class championship, but at Montreal, finished on the podium in race number 2. I think we could expect to see more of that this season. Etienne's really on it so far in the 992 Cup car this time around.
Yeah, it just seems like he's really at ease with the car here at this point. And it can be a hard thing to switch over from that GT4 style machinery here up into the 992 Cup car. As we always talk about, no traction control, no ABS in these cars. It is a driver's machine. And so very, very difficult to come to grips with. But once you find that sweet spot, it certainly comes into play. And this is a driver that, well, we thought was in that sweet spot last time out in Montreal, Brody Goebel, but just had some bad luck around the streets of Montreal.
Yeah, didn't really get the finishes that we expected, but he did a great job climbing through the field and being a factor, at least for the first half of each of those races. So Brody really looking forward, I'm sure, to getting a finish that represents the pace that he's got so far, P16 for Porsche Center Vancouver, but I'm sure he will perform tonight, or at least if he gets a little bit better luck. There are some drivers that were up at the pointy end last season that we haven't really seen much of tonight. Blake Townend is one of them. Porsche Center Winnipeg in the number 57. Stephen Warcup for Porsche Center Edmonton in the number 4. And Liam Roudzitas, Alex Ho, and more. All drivers that have been with this series for at least a year or two and are struggling right now, about 27th through 30th in qualifying.
Yeah, they just look like they don't have everything together here, and I'm not sure what that was. I wasn't taking a look at their laps. They may have just gotten slowed down by a little bit of traffic. The other thing is Kyle, you mentioned it, around this Nürburgring circuit, it really is a building of intensity. You start off very slow through that arena section, and then you just build speed as it goes around, and you've got to have a lot of confidence, not only in your own driving ability, but the car underneath you as well to make it work. And so I wonder if there's some drivers that are just struggling with that confidence and they don't feel like they can chuck the car into the corners on the back half of the circuit.
Yeah, and that's what I talked about earlier, the aerodynamic performance of the car. You're going to use that on the back half of the track, but the aero's not everything. You have to have the confidence, as you mentioned, to stick the car to the road. And I think for a lot of drivers in particular, that's the aero is the most challenging component of a race car because you have to learn to trust. And that's difficult to do, especially in a simulated environment here in iRacing, where you don't necessarily have that seat of the pants feel that you get from a real world race car. And when the eventual winner of this championship goes on to get that Porsche driving experience, I think they're going to find that they're the transition from sim to reality is easier than they expect because you're adding a component, you're adding a feeling, which is that seat of the pants feel when you climb behind the wheel of a real race car.
Yeah, when you are driving in a real race car, you feel that aerodynamic weight through your backside. That is where you feel it. You just kind of have that gut instinct as the G-forces pull on you and you're able to really feel the grip in the car through your backside and through your whole body. When you're racing on a sim rig like this, it's a little bit different. You have to judge it off of your fingertips and the force feedback that you get off of your wheel, as well as off of the noise that you hear. You've got to be listening for those tires squealing, and when they really start to reach an absolute cacophony, that's when you know you're losing grip. And so it's a different kind of sensory experience to be sim racing. It requires a lot of talent, don't get me wrong, but it's just different senses that are activated.
Here's Phil Bouchard for Porsche Center Rive Sud. In the number 73, was up at the front all last season. Tonight in qualifying, though, under 4 minutes to go, DJ, and P23. He's up on green in his lap right now. He probably will improve, but this is a scary place to be this close to the end of qualifying.
Yeah, it's a very scary place to be, but the good thing is here is he's going to be getting a nice little toe off of, I believe, his teammate there in front of him as we take a look from the blimp view. Now, that's going to take a little bit of that aerodynamic handling that we talked about off of the car through some of the fast corners, but he's going to be able to gain that back up on the straightaways, and that'll probably allow for Bouchard to be able to get a better run here.
And that's the goal, is use your teammate to help you get that slipstream as he heads into the last corner. Suelio Almeida also no representative lap time, down in 38th right now. So Almeida also in trouble, is running out of time too. So here comes Bouchard out of the final corner, chasing the 58. That's the provisional pole sitter, Racine Fazui. Bouchard across the line at 56.0. That will jump him up inside the top 10 to 7th place.
Well, there's no better way to get a tow around a circuit than from the driver who has been fastest overall. So a great play there for the Rive Sud drivers for that Porsche Center. Really heads up. I've got to imagine Bouchard's going to be feeling pretty happy about starting in the top 10. Here's a look back, though, at the number 3. And this is Suelio Almeida, the last of the drivers with a lap time. I've got to imagine we're about to see an absolute stonker of a lap here from Suelio.
You got to imagine it, right? He's on a warm-up right now, but as he comes across the start-finish line, this clear track ahead of him, 2 minutes to go. He's going to get one more opportunity. Oh, no, he won't. This is going to be his only opportunity, Jay. Remember, we're running the heat racing format here in iRacing, which means when the time elapses, you can't finish your lap. The session will conclude as soon as the timer runs out. So for Almeida, this is his only shot to get up in the top 10 here. This is the season on the line. I don't think, we said this at Montreal, DJ, I don't think you can afford to have a single bad event to win this championship. That's how tight it is at the front of the field, and Almeida is leaving this down to the last minute.
Yeah, certainly he has got to try to put it on here at this point. This is a track where you can get overtakes done, but it's not as easy to be able to do. And so I really think Suelio is going to want to try to push as much as possible, but he is pushing over the limit there. Look, coming out of the Ford chicane, he got a little bit off onto the gravel. That's going to hurt his time by just a couple hundredths of a second.
The enter pretty tight to the inside line, drift up at the center of the corner, then throttle down on the exit of the hairpin, and now into the fast section. This is where Almeida is going to lean on the downforce of this 992 generation Porsche GT3 Cup car. Use all the track on driver's right and driver's left, and Almeida right now is up 1.9 seconds on his best lap time, but I don't know what we're comparing it to, because his previous best lap was not a clean one, so it's minus 2.1 to a time I don't see. So who knows where he's at.
Yeah, this is going to be a little bit of a question mark for all of us as he comes to the line here. Only 45 seconds left on the clock, and as you said, you cannot complete those hot laps. So he has got to try to put this time in here at this point. Gustavo Foisier just able to put in a better time there. That'll bump him up into 18th position. But all eyes here on the 39th place machine, Suelio Almeida, as he comes through the final chicane.
Last corner, here it comes. Suelio Almeida, 38th place, now 39th as he comes across the line at 155.990. Will put him inside the top 10, but just 9th place by 100th of a second.
And that's good.
It's good.
That being up in the top 10, that is good for Swolio. It's not the kind of electric racing that I would have expected of Swolio, but let's see what he does in the race. Let's see what he's able to do as the time goes along.
Well, the time elapses. Your pole sitter is going to be Racine Fazui, the number 58, alongside Guillaume Levesque in the 888. That was an intense end to qualifying, with Swolio Almeida just getting into the mix right at the tail end. It is now time for the first of our 2 races tonight, 15 minutes and then a 38-minute race. This first race is only about 8 laps worth of racing. This is a longer lap than the one we had at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve last week, which means you have less laps, less opportunity, DJ, to make overtakes, and less opportunities to use that one corner you're good at to get by your competitors.
Yeah, and I think that's going to raise the stakes here for a lot of these drivers. We may see a little bit more of aggressive movement coming down into some of these heavy braking zones. Watch, especially at the start, diving down into the Haug hook. It is going to be very, very careful for a lot of drivers. I think some drivers farther back in the field, they're really going to be trying to push their way up ahead.
Yeah, certainly we'll have a lot to follow in these 15 minutes. It's going to be a frantic 15 to start things off. Again, Kyle Heyer alongside DJ Clark for this one for you tonight. This is round 2 of the 2023 Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge Canada from the Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit. You see the cars gridding up on the bottom right-hand side of the screen, just behind the graphic there. And DJ, in a moment, when there's more cars on the grid, we'll take you through our starting lineup. We are going to get a full pace lap in addition to this half lap that we're getting, so we're going to have plenty of time to go over some things before the race kicks off. This is time to get heat and temperature into the tires, into the brakes. I like this, DJ. The 992 generation Porsche GT3 Cup car, it certainly grips well, but it needs those tires to be up to the task, and that's why the series gives you an entire warm-up lap to get all the temperature in the things that need heat to operate properly.
Yeah, exactly. The full warm-up lap here going to really help these drivers out. We talked about in qualifying how it was taking about a lap for these drivers to get their tires up to speed, up to temperature. And so this extra lap is just going to help them do that. And really what it's going to do, frankly, for us selfishly, is it's just going to make for better racing once the green flag drops.
So, Racine Fazui is your pole sitter here. Let's kick things off with your starting lineup here for race number 1 of the evening. Racine Fazui for Rive Sud and Guillaume Levesque in the 888 for Team Lausanne. That's Porsche Center Lausanne in the 888. He rolls off on the outside of that front row, DJ.
Yeah, back in row 2, it's going to be Andrew Caron for Halifax Porsche Center, and then Antoine Lacherit for Lausanne. That's a very strong second row.
And row number 3, it's Etienne Leger, the Mark Motors number 2, alongside Phil Bouchard for Team Rive Sud in the number 73. He starts 6th.
Lining up in 7th, it's going to be Alex Ellis in the number 5 Porsche Center Markham machine, and then Vincent Trepanier in the number 87 will line up to his outside.
Porsche Center Markham has Swelio Almeida, the number 3, starting 9th. And Porsche Center Mark Motors, Matt Adams starts 10th in the number 17.
In 11th place, it's going to be Justin Ream out of Porsche Center Calgary in the number 7, and then Simon Tiro will be in the number 89 for Porsche Center Victoria.
In 13th place in row 7, it's going to be Nathan Bartley for Porsche Center Calgary. Alex Bergeron in the Porsche Center Quebec, number 12. He starts 14th.
15th is going to be Juliano Romagnolo in the Porsche Center Oakville, number 55, followed by Giovanni Romano in the number 337.
Behind them, starting 17th, it's Gregory Hovesen in the Porsche Center Halifax, number 15. Then Josh Manalo for Porsche Center Vancouver, 18th in the 86.
19th is going to be Nicolas Michel there for Porsche Center Oakville, the number 11, and then Gustavo Foisier in Porsche Center Victoria's number 23.
21st place, Zoran Radisavage for Porsche Center Winnipeg in the 34 car, and Jan Guénon Renault for Porsche Center North Toronto starts 22nd in the number 18 car.
Lining up 23rd, it's going to be Blake Townend there for Porsche Center Winnipeg in the number 57, and then the 69, who we talked about a little bit earlier, Brody Goebel in the Porsche Center Vancouver entry.
25th place, that's Stephen Warcup for Porsche Center Edmonton, and Josiah Farrow in the number 915 for the Porsche Center London team.
As we work our way back to 27th, it's Enjo Johansson there for Porsche Center Quebec, followed by Curtis Fung in the number 10.
And in 29th place is Justin Nasir in the Porsche Center Kelowna team, and Walter Lamb for Porsche Center Richmond in 30th in the number 001.
Working our way back into the 30s, Chris McGraw in the number 379 will line up 31st, and then Jean-Philippe Dubois in the number 102 for Porsche Center Saskatchewan lines up 32nd.
33rd place is Romain Faux in the Porsche Center Vaughan team. That's the 298 car. Alex Ho in the Porsche Center Langley car starts 34th.
As we work our way into the back of the field here, Liam Rudzitis for Porsche Center downtown Toronto is going to line up 35th, and Arthur Chan will be to his outside in 36th place.
Last couple rows, Josh Arduini for Porsche Center Saskatchewan, and Nikki Chan for Porsche Center downtown Toronto starts 38th in the 000.
39th is going to be Barax Karzlioglu there for Porsche Center Vaughan, and then Christopher Cook lines up in 40th place.
And the last row is going to be Dylan Bourget for Porsche Center Prestige, and alongside his teammate Jonathan Brell in the Porsche Center Prestige number 28. That's your field. 42 cars here, starting round 2 of the 2023 Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge Canada. About ready to go racing here in about a half a lap's time. 15 minutes is all it's going to be for this first race. We're going to invert the drivers, at least the top 10 of them, and that's when we'll kick off race number 2, set your points for the round, and move on to round 3 at Interlagos next week. This has been a pleasure to be with you, but we're just getting started here tonight. Big thanks to Tag Heuer for being a timing partner, Bose for coming on board, Apex V2R for helping organize, and of course, we've got some new partners on board. On the team graphics that you might have noticed, Grid Engineering down there on the bottom right, so thanks to them as well. Going to look at Racine Fazui on the front row alongside the AAA to Guillaume Levesque. He's got his teammate of Antoine Lacherit behind him on the outside of that front row. It's going to be a frantic run down to turn 1, DJ. Here we go.
Here they go indeed as Fazui leads the field around here through the Coca-Cola curve. Eyes on the starter stand, and we're ready to go.
Time to go racing in the start zone. Here we come, 15 minutes on the board. Porsche centers and drivers from all over Canada going racing in the Nurburgring. Here we go, green flag flies, running down to turn 1, 3 abreast already as one of the green and purple cars splits the difference. Is that Phil Bouchard 73? It sure is. Middle of 3 wide into the first corner. Make sure you get through there without making any contact. There's one car turned around. It's the 23. That car is Gustavio Fauzier. He's stuck with the 15 car behind him, but the rest get through without any incident. And there's trouble behind the leaders, and it's a big crash.
Big crash indeed. I think Walter Lamb may have been caught up in that. I see Nathan Bartley falling down through the order. The number 91 looks like they're turned around as well. Big calamity coming down through the Howe Cook. But the front of this field back up to racing speed.
All right, Racine Fazui gets away clear. We'll go back and look at that incident a little bit later in this race. It's a jam up for 4th place right now. Lacherit's got it. Etienne Leger is just behind. He's trying to hold off Alex Ellis, but it's Andrew Caron, Phil Bouchard right behind the 21 right now heading into the hairpin.
Yeah, Caron looking like he's on a little bit of an attack here. Down 1 position with Lacherit able to take that away. We look a little bit farther back down in the field. That's Ellis and Almeida probably working together here as they're going to be splitting up Leger and Matt Adams, the 2 teammates right on the either end of it.
Up to speed here for the first time. Tires maybe still not quite up to temperature, so you have to nurse it through here until you can trust the downforce. But Almeida following his teammate. That's a familiar sight out ahead of him. In the FAF colors there, the familiar kind of plaid look to it. Matt Adams in the number 17, previous champion when this was a multi-class championship, and trying to fight a little bit higher up the order this season after being in the mix last year, but never really, I think, capitalizing on the pace that he had in his first season.
Yeah, just not able to do it. Oh, we've got another car around. That's Blake Townend there in the number 57.
Yeah, Townend for Porsche Center Winnipeg, a spin. He'll get back rolling, lose 2 more spots to Bourget and Bartley. Going the wrong direction here early in this race. We jump up to 17th place. Josh Manalo and Curtis Fung battling for position. Fung in the number 10 in 18th place right now.
Yeah, this is a little farther back down in the field. Fung going to try to hold in behind. You can make some pretty late dives here coming down to the Howe Cook. Fung certainly thinking about it, fading down to the inside, but he is going to stay right in line there behind Manalo as it looks like everybody else in front of him going to do the exact same thing.
The brakes on this car, really impressive performance out of this 911 GT3 Cup car, but you have to crank so much rearward brake bias to really take full advantage of the physics of the rear engine platform here. It can get a little bit sketchy if you're too aggressive on the brake pedal. We are running a fixed setup here. Everyone's running the same exact car. There are a couple things you can toy with, though, to make your driving experience maybe a little bit more tuned for you as Radisavage chases Yonkanol Renault in the number 18 car just ahead.
Yeah, he's going to try to close in here at this point, jumping off of that Dunlop hairpin down at the far end of the circuit, and you're going to have a little bit of a problem here for a lot of these drivers. You're going to find yourself in draft trains down these long straightaways, and that basically just means that you are certainly going to not be able to gain any position. Love seeing that at a Yonguignol Renault there. I love the iRacer's lean that he's giving into the car.
I was going to say the lean. I've done that before, too. It just makes you feel like you're going a little faster around the corners, that's for sure. But started 22nd up to 15th place, to go in the right direction, certainly, for that number 18 car, rather.
Yeah, certainly trying to work his way up through the field there. I also want to give some credit here, some big movers early on. Christopher Cook up 21 positions, Alexander Ho up 10, Antoine Lacherit here, who we ride on board with, up 1, but crucially, that is a very, very crucial one position that he has gained, because it puts him in the podium contention.
And he's right behind a teammate as well, so Racine Fazui in the 58 just ahead. This is the Porsche Center Lausanne team, but as you see, Racine Fazui out front, repping Porsche Center Rive Sud. So a bit of a different team here as Lacherit looks out to the inside. Will he dive up on his teammate? He will. Will Levesque fight him for it? Not sure that they're going to put up that much of a fight here early, but look at Caron to the outside now into the arena section.
Yeah, that's what you can do. Sometimes if you're able to carry a little bit more momentum going through the arena, you can carry it around the outside. Caron thought about it, but I think he didn't want to fully commit to that move, because he's got Phil Bouchard there in that number 73 right up behind his gearbox. He's got to watch out for the attack here from Bouchard.
And again, Bouchard's teammates with Fazui, who's out front right now. So really two teams mostly dominating the top 5. Caron's kind of the odd man out here with Porsche Center Halifax. None of his teammates to be found, at least in the top 10 right now. So trying to kind of be the lone wolf here, battling amongst a group of teams. Even Alex Ellis and Suelio Almeida behind in team cars for Porsche Center Markham.
Yeah, they're doing a good job here to just keep themselves in position, and they're going to be hoping for a little bit of a problem up in front from a couple of these drivers. They've got about 0.7 of a second up to Etienne Leger to try to close that back in. If they're not able to do it, though, they're sitting pretty here. Remember, the top 10 invert, so there's a little bit of risk-reward you're going to want to be thinking about going into that feature race.
Look how calm Alex Ellis is behind the wheel. He is absolutely just a stone right now, just focused as ever. Looking very, very relaxed. And this is something that Suelio actually, we talked about it last week at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, but Suelio is all about driving calm and really learning how to relax. And then he found a lot of pace that way. It looks like he's teaching Alex Ellis the same.
Well, there's a great story, Kyle, from Jackie Stewart at one point. I don't know where exactly the circuit was that he was riding, but he was told by the team to back off. He had such a big lead, and to everybody's surprise, he backed off, calmed himself down a little bit, and kept setting faster lap times. And that, truthfully, is what happens when you don't think about it, when you just let your natural reflexes drive you and the car around. You're going to go faster and faster. So that kind of relaxedness there from Suelio and Alex Ellis certainly helping.
Curtis Fung in the number 10, looking for 17th on Nicolas Michel in the number 11. This is a battle for 17th place, as Fung now up to 18th place. Started 28th, so 10 spots up for the number 10 so far. Great climb.
Yeah, great climb, and some of that obviously precipitated by the fact that there was that big couple of incidents on the first lap. But nevertheless, up that many positions here for Curtis Fung is a good thing. We're going to jump back here to Nathan Bartley, as he's under a little bit of an attack right now. That's Barrett Karsloglu there behind him, trying to put the moves on the number 37.
Yeah, Bartley was involved in an incident at the start of the race. You see a lot of damage to the right rear of the car, and the rear of the car here is really where all the important bits are. So hopefully it's up to pace. Doesn't look like he's that far off where you'd expect to be, but certainly nursing some damage at the moment. Up front, no changes at the moment, but the battle for 14th is getting a little bit hotter. Zoran Radosavich is chasing down Yonguignol Renault, and Josh Manalo's not too far back. And then there's that Michel and Fung battle we were just watching.
Yeah, so some good action taking place over the course of this entire field as we stick pretty close here to the halfway point in this race. Trying to see here if we're going to see any moves firing off. As I'm a little bit surprised here. I'm surprised that we're seeing drivers be a little bit more cautious in this opening sprint race.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of caution thrown to the wind in the first corner, and then it was a realization that you can't get very far with that. So everyone's kind of calmed down here for the next couple of minutes. 7 minutes to go. We're past the halfway point now, and La Cherie is running down Racine Fizui. So the lead has come down about 0.5 of a second in the last couple laps or so. So La Cherie looking to do what he did at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in round 1, and that's claimed race 1 victory.
Yeah, he's looking to do just that. On lap 3, he was able to take about 2.5 of a second out, and on this last lap, he was able to take about 5.5 of a second out, as you said, Kyle. So he is really putting in the work here and really starting to hassle the back of the 58. I think La Cherie's objective here for probably the next, let's call it 5 minutes, is just be a fly in that rear view mirror. Poke your nose this way and that. See if you can elicit an error out of Racine Fizui. And then once we get into the last lap, if Fizui hasn't blinked, go for the attack.
And Guillaume Levesque is behind, about 1 second back from La Cherie, and then it's Caron and Bouchard that are pretty close in proximity behind even that. So if these drivers waste a lot of time battling amongst themselves, we could bring in a whole other group of cars. You see at the top of that shot there. So we're not done by any stretch, even if these two swap positions with those other 3 bearing down.
No, we're certainly not, and that's one of the things here that I think La Cherie is going to have to keep in mind. He doesn't want to spend 2, 3, 4 corner sequences duking it out here with Fizui. He wants to try to extend that 1.2 second gap as much as possible, and that's kind of why I said that for La Cherie, he doesn't want to attack, he just wants to be annoying in that rear view mirror.
Certainly doing that, getting larger and larger in Fizui's rear mirror for the Porsche Center Sud team. And Fizui doing a great job defending. He has not yet made a mistake that I've been able to find, so he is definitely performing. Otherwise, throughout the field, lots of close quarters battles, but nothing extremely volatile, so we'll keep you up front here as we hit 5 minutes to go, about 5 minutes 30 left of the Tag Heuer timing there at the top of the screen. Here's an issue for Alex Ho in the 84. He's gone around for a loop.
And I wonder there for Alexander if he maybe just brought the car a little bit too powerfully coming out of the corner. Oh no, there was some contact there that sent him around. My apologies there to Alex.
Yeah, that was Gregory Holvesen that I believe got into him here, and see if we can ride on board with Gregory here. Gets to the inside as they get down to the corner. Grabs just a little bit. That's so hard to call, but it did result in Alex going for a little bit of a slide. So it's unfortunate as we have Radisavich and Romano and Gonganon Renault in a battle for 13th place now.
Yeah, this is starting to get a little bit fierce. Remember, this is outside of those inverted positions, so you want to try to get your way ahead as much as possible. There's no strategy here about where you want to start in the feature race. It's all just about getting yourself as far forward as possible. But it looks like we've had it coming together. That's the 379. That's Chris McGraw turned around.
And Brody Goebel also involved down here. This is at corner number 1, and here's how it happened. Goebel in the number 69. Oh, he actually kind of clobbered the rejoining McGraw, who was already off track. So I thought they had kind of instigated that incident together, but actually they were just kind of finishing their own and ended up in the same place on the racetrack.
Yeah, I think maybe a little bit of target fixation there could have been what caused that. You see a driver off to the side there, and it's kind of like if you're told, don't think about an elephant. The only thing you're going to do is think about an elephant. You don't want to look at that driver, but you're going to look at that car off to the track, and the car is automatically going to go that way.
Andrew Caron was all over Guillaume Levesque there for a corner, and that distraction has made sure that the AAA has not gotten any closer to the front two. So La Cherie and Fizui still pretty comfortable. A 1.4 second advantage will be coming to 2 laps to go in this first race this time by. So they might have enough space to be able to decide this amongst themselves. But Fizui's been doing such a great job defending that La Cherie hasn't been close enough to strike just yet.
Yeah, he really hasn't been able to have it. And credit here to Racine Fizui. He's actually been able to extend the gap, crucially, through the last couple of corners, up to about 0.5 of a second. So that's a really good run here for Racine, doing exactly what he needs to do. Now, it's going to come down a little bit here through the arena section, just courtesy of the accordion effect. But once he starts to stretch away a little bit on some of these straightaways, we'll see what they're able to do.
All mechanical grip in here and setting up for this run. Fizui using a little bit more racetrack on corner exit, being a bit greedier with the track limits, but able to keep it on the course and extend that lead just a little bit. Suelio Almeida in the number 3. If you need any more reasons for why this is one of the most challenging paddocks in the virtual motorsport world. Almeida was at the front of everything a couple seasons ago. Give it a couple seasons, the level of intensity has risen so much that Suelio has only moved up one spot. We know how good he is. DJ, it's been a struggle to gain positions because everyone is so close.
Yeah, exactly, and it just goes to show you that the talent level in this field that this series has been able to attract over the last couple of seasons. And Suelio only being up in 8th, that should tell you all you need to know about just how good these drivers are.
It almost seemed easy a couple seasons ago with how Suelio was picking up wins left and right, 3 wide at Circuit de la Sarthe and really putting on a show there. But fast forward a couple of seasons, still performing very well, and I have no doubt they'll be a championship contender along with his teammate Alex Ellis, but the intensity level has just risen, and with it, the competitiveness of the entire field. As we roll around the final corner, turn 16, 1 lap to go. White flag will be waving this time by Fuzui over La Charite by 0.4 of a second. Giovanni Romano's got a rear view mirror full of Zoran Radosavich, and Josh Manalo's back there as well in the 86. And this is a battle for 14th place. So down into turn number 1, Giovanni Romano leads Zoran Radosavich. Josh Manalo, and here's Nicholas Michel and Curtis Fung. They're still in their battle here. Fung has dropped a little bit off the tail of this, but for the top spot, it's 0.3 of a second. La Charite chasing Fuzui down the hill here, closing the gap down to 0.3 of a second, within half a car length now. Accelerating now as La Charite is gearing up maybe for one last opportunity to go by Racine Fuzui here at the hairpin. Closes, but look at the run Fuzui gets on corner exit. Puts a distance, about a car length and a half on the number 21. Accelerating now into the S's, climbing the curbs, but Fuzui's got the advantage. It's 0.3 of a second. It's a little bit closer than it was, but Fuzui still has the advantage. Levesque nowhere to be seen. At the back of the shot, he's got his own hands full with Andrew Caron and Phil Bouchard. Top 5. Half a lap left. Coming back to the checkers this time for the first of 2 races. The Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge Canada, round number 2. Heavy and late on the brakes here for the fast sweeping chicane. Fuzui, excellent run through there. La Charite into the final corner, turn 16, right to the rear bumper, but he's not going to be able to do it. Fuzui, what an excellent drive by Racine Fuzui in the number 58 for Porsche Centre-Rive Sud. Racine Fuzui wins race 1 of round 2 of the Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge Canada from the Nurburgring. Then it's La Charite, Levesque on the rest of the podium. Andrew Caron, Bill Bouchard, the rest of your top 5. Etienne Leger, Alex Ellis, Suelio Almeida, Matt Adams, and Vincent Trepanier, the rest of your top 10. Nicholas Michel comes home 17th place. And whoops, spin in the final corner, and it's Nathan Bartley who goes around for a spin for Porsche Center Calgary. Looped coming back to the checkers. And he will drop out of the positions he was running in and make it to the line, but just.
Yeah, just barely make it to the line there. That's going to be a tough way to be able to end the first race here for him. He was dealing with some damage on that car, though, so I'm not entirely surprised. I'm frankly a little bit surprised we didn't see more issues there throughout the race for him.
Certainly. So here's a look at the session results here. Racine Fuzui gets it done. We're only going to have a moment to look at this here before the session turns over. But Antoine La Charite, a strong run. And look at Porsche Center Lausanne. Right in the mix, 2nd and 3rd. Great points for that Porsche Center there, DJ. And Rive Sud as well, 1st and 5th. That's a good run. Same thing for Markham as well, inside the top 10.
Yeah, very good run. A driver that I'm going to be keeping my eye on here in this second race, that's going to be Curtis Fung. He had a great race there in the first race, got his way up into 11th. He's going to be starting just outside of those transfer positions, and he may be able to latch onto the back of the likes of Fuzui or La Charite and be able to get his way up forward, maybe get a top 5 out of this.
Well, we do have Racine Fuzui standing by. Hey, Racine, you got a copy? Hey, Racine, you got a copy?
Hey,
I got you.
Hi.
We got you now. How's it going, man? Hey, congratulations on that win. Well earned. It was pretty frantic there as Lacherit was running you down those last couple laps. Take me through your thoughts, your feelings with him so close to the mirror on that final lap.
It's frightening when you see somebody from like 1 second to like 0.3, 0.4. But this track is so tough to overtake. You just need a really good defense, and you can make the opponent overuse his equipment. I messed up my way to warm my tires behind the pace car. I tried something that I saw in PESC actually. And yeah, I didn't like the balance of the car the first 2 laps. I kept like lining up my rears. And I tried, while Guillaume was blocking Antoine, quote unquote, I tried to get my balance front to back even, but the only thing that happened is I killed my fronts, and I had killed fronts and killed rears. Held it though. Pace is there. Now the future is going to be a different story. Let's just stay clean, grab the points, and bring it home.
Yeah, so we saw last week that the driver that won race 1 didn't really get very far in race number 2 after the inversion. Do you expect to see something similar? You're going to be starting in that furthest back invert, so will this be a different story this week for you?
I mean, don't jinx me.
I don't want to.
You know, I'm just, hey, I can't see the future and I can't remember the past. I can only focus on the present. So once I'm gritting, I'll do what I can do and I'll send it.
All right, go ahead. Get her done. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you. Cheers.
Racine Fazui gets it done in race number 1 as we get prepped for our second race of the night. DJ, we learned some things. Passing was a challenge, as it was at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and this is not a factor of the racetrack. I don't think it's not a factor of the race car. This is just a factor of how competitive this field is. It's so close that you're waiting on mistakes, and there just are not a lot of those.
Yeah, really and truly here, it is just a matter of all of the drivers being too pixel perfect to be able to get their way around anybody else. So often here, you talk about a circuit like the Nurburgring, you're waiting for a mistake to fire off from one of these drivers, and we're just not seeing that here from any of them.
No, certainly not. So when it comes to race number 2, I think there is going to be some dramas that we'll have to follow along. One thing I did want to do, though, is go back and watch the initial start accident, if we can get a moment to look back at this. It was a pretty frantic run down to turn number 1, but here we are, 4 wide, Stephen Workup. There's a car already spun. We're following Workup in the middle here, and there's just everyone kind of stops. But right here, there's just cars in the middle of the road, and what can you do about it? The 37 is one I saw kind of in the middle of all that. He might have been the first car to go around. That was Nathan Bartley. Let's have another look.
Yeah, I think Bartley may have been touched from behind here coming down. No, excuse me, it's a 23 that got the hit from behind. Bartley, an unfortunate passenger there as the 23 was out of control. No way to get that car to stop, and the 37 just caught out.
Yeah, and then Blake Townend here, we saw this incident a little bit later, just has a little bit of contact and could not right the ship there before ending up in the tire bundles there. So a couple incidents in that first race. That big crash in turn 1 was something all the drivers are going to try to avoid again, DJ. But some of this, with this many cars, is almost inevitable. This field is so impressive, but mistakes are easy to do in a pack this deep.
Yeah, they certainly are, but as we said, Kyle, we're just not seeing that many mistakes once these drivers are able to get up and build their rhythm around this circuit and really get that to play. So I'm going to be interested here, now that we have a little bit more time on the clock, put that forward. What we're going to see from these drivers is exhaustion, is fatigue going to play into this for these two.
Yeah, again, the second race is a little bit longer, and we saw at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve that the racing looked similar from race 1 to race 2, but you're running for basically twice as long, and what that means is that you're going to have the potential to overheat your tires, overheat your brakes, overexert yourself in that level of focus that you need to sustain for so long. So, you know, it's not that long of a race in the grand scheme of things, but it's long enough to wear you out. And trust me, I've done some pretty short races that will wear you out here in iRacing. So I think tonight will be no different.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you there on that. These drivers, all of them running with some pretty hefty force feedback and all of that on the wheels. So it certainly does take it out of you. And that's not even to taking into consideration the mental fatigue that goes into running around here. You put so much focus into making sure you get all of these corners right. And every once in a while, you just find yourself slipping a little bit as a result of that.
Race number 2 kicking off here in just a moment, and the field grids up. And one of the things that we were talking about was Suelio Almeida running P8. Was that a surprise? Maybe. He starts 3rd in this race, so perhaps there was more to it than just the finishing from race number 1. Remember, we've inverted now 10, so Racine Fazui will start in position number 10. So here's what he sees off the nose of his car. 5 rows of cars ahead of him. Vincent Trepanier is the highest running driver for the start of this race from Porsche Center Edmonton. His time to shine.
Yeah, it's going to be his time to see what he can do. We saw what Racine was able to do in that last round. Let's see here if Vincent's able to just hold the front of this field and mitigate any of those mistakes. But he's going to have a pretty tough time worked out for him. Matt Adams, no slouch there starting off in P2. And look at that second row, Leger and Ellis as well. Bouchard and Caron behind them. I mean, it is just murderer's row up in this top 10.
Suelio, did he make the grid? I don't see him on the grid.
No, he did not make the grid, Kyle. Nice catch.
That is a big issue for Suelio Almeida. And I wonder, checking with his teammate, looks pretty calm, cool, and collected. Doesn't seem all that concerned at the end of the day. He's on the grid. He's going to be starting in that second row as we documented. I wonder if Suelio stepped away and didn't make the grid process in time. It's a short grid. It's only about a minute you get when we come in for this second race. So if he had stepped away for a moment, that is definitely going to be a painful one. And it's a 42-car grid starting from the pits, DJ. That is going to be catastrophic for the points.
It's going to be absolutely catastrophic for Suelio here. Yeah, not sure what happened. I'm not showing him as a disconnect from the session, so I don't believe it was any sort of physical hardware issue that he had or even an internet connection issue, as we would get notification of that. We'll have to basically just figure out what exactly happened.
Yeah, I guess I can imagine that he had stepped away for a moment, but the way this series runs, you know that it's not going to be a long break between races. It's pretty rapid fire go. So that was a mistake there for Suelio, unfortunately. But Etienne Leger, remember where he started last week? He was right up at the front of race number 2, and he basically held the lead for most of the race. Eventually ended up finishing in second. But Etienne's got some pace, and he'll be rolling off in row number 3 alongside Phil Bouchard in the number 73. This is a driver that never really got his chance to shine at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Kind of got buried in traffic after a bit of an incident. P6 to start in this one. Much better starting spot this week.
Yeah, it's going to be a much better start there for him as we now work our way around. There is the view. I always love his camera angle because I love the wheel with the light. That's just such a little thing, but I love it.
It really does show when drivers put effort into their presentation, and Phil is one of those drivers that has always been kind to us and has always had a professional presentation on broadcast with us, so thanks to Phil. Andrew Caron will start alongside him in that number 6. There's Andrew, another driver that in the past seasons was, dare I say, dominant, and as they level the field comes up, the dominance has kind of fallen away to where do you qualify and how good are you at defending, because that's how tight things have been here in the Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge Canada. Thanks again to Tag Heuer for being the timing partner, Bose Audio for giving out some prizes and being our partner in the top right-hand corner. Of course, iRacing for giving us the platform to race on, as well as our new partner on the bottom of the screen there, the Grid Engineering Group, along with Apex V2R. Vincent Trepanier out front for Porsche Center Edmonton. He's going to have an angry horde of drivers behind him on the start of this one.
Yeah, he's going to have an absolute flock of Porsches there behind him, and so he is going to have to try to keep them at bay, and we're going to have to hope to avoid one of the big pileups that we saw going down into the Hauk Hook on this last lap. But I think drivers will maybe have learned their lesson a little bit, maybe just having a little bit more of calmness going down in. Again, that first little incident we saw really set up by a bump from behind, so you've got to be very, very careful, know when to brake and know how to brake early.
Wonder if the heart rates are climbing a little bit right now, DJ. I always wonder that. I get nervous in iRacing at any point I'm driving. Like, you know, you get nervous as a driver, but at this level, these are, for lack of a better term, these are professional esports drivers. And you just have to wonder, how nervous are they? What's that heart rate like?
They're probably keeping it under control, but if you're not nervous, you're not doing it right.
Field leaves the final corner, waits for that start zone, and past the gravel trap. They are in the start zone, and now they accelerate a late green by Vincent Trepanier, and Matt Adams comes over to cover his teammate already. Nose to tail. Look at the 73 sweep to the outside. We're 3 abreast already heading down to turn number 1. Everybody scatters. The 12 car might lock up the brakes into the first corner. It's chaos down here into the tight bend of turn 1.
And a little bit of contact there. I think that may have been Guillaume Levesque and Etienne Leger, but no harm, no foul. Everybody through the Howe Cook nice and easily as we continue to go 2-3 wide through the rest of the field.
That was a nicely done first sector. That's really challenging to do here with this many cars. But Vincent Trepanier leads. Matt Adams is so tight behind. The field still so far. We're still 3 wide deep in the field. They're getting it sorted out as Adams puts pressure on Trepanier for the top spot here.
Not really enough of a braking zone there to be able to make that move going into Valvoline, but Adams is going to keep applying pressure here because he knows that Alex Ellis is right behind him. Etienne Leger, Guillaume Levesque, Phil Bouchard, and a nice little 3-way battle right behind them as well.
Yeah, look at this. We're going to pass for position happening here between Bouchard and Guillaume Levesque, the Triple Eight on the outside. Tight quarters here between the teammates, and Andrew Caron trying to go forward in that 06 car. Started 7th, is 7th. Christopher Cook has had an issue in the number 66, and he's right in the middle of the field as everybody tries to drive around it.
Oh, big stack up there. Looks like Workup had to take to the gravel trap to try to avoid it. That's going to separate, it looks like, about 26th and 27th on back from the field. But, we've got another car spearing off there. I think that's Walter Lamb.
Yeah, Walter Lamb in the 001 gets it back on course, or will get it back on course without much more dramas. But we go back up to 4th place. Etienne Leger and Phil Bouchard are nose to tail for P4. And this is going to get very interesting here on the straightaway heading into this chicane. Single file, everyone playing nice up front in the top 10 so far.
Yeah, everybody playing nice with one another, not getting too aggressive there, and I'm not surprised. Ooh, there we got a little bit of side-by-side, though. Wouldn't expect to see that, but I think we've had a problem farther back down in the field. Curtis Fung, maybe Justin Ream involved.
Yeah, Curtis Fung has had a problem, and I think you're right about Justin Ream. Let's go back and have a look here at how this transpired. There was contact into the chicane behind the trees there as a couple drivers went off in response to that, but we'll carry on. As for the lead, here comes Adams, and whoa, they're all wide there at the exit of the corner. Guillaume Levesque and the Triple Eights going backwards. La Charite up into the mix, and some more contact I hear in the background, but everybody keeps it straight thus far.
Everybody keeps it straight thus far, side by side here.
Trouble! Alex Ellis
spins!
Ellis spins out of the top 5, and there was contact there up at the front.
Yeah, there was. I think that was Adams and a few getting together. I also see Gustavo Foisier having some problems there as well, so a lot of scruffiness here. Let's take a look at this replay, Kyle.
Yeah, the 5 not quite clear of Adams, and he might have turned in on the 17 just a little bit, but either way, they made contact, and that will drop Alex Ellis to 13th place. And as far as the 3, Asuelio Almeida, I don't see him on course. No, he is on course, P33. So this is not going the right way for that team there, as there's some contact here between Guillaume Levesque, Jean-Guinon Renault, Zoran Savage, and Simon Theriault. Look at this on the back straightaway.
Oh, that had disaster written all over it as now they go Noah's Ark down into the Schumacher S, and that is the 89 machine, elbows fully out, making that move stick.
Alex Ellis is, he looked calm, cool, and collected earlier, but now maybe a hint of frustration as he's back to P13 after that incident. And he's got a lot of cars to get back by to get the points that he probably should be getting based on his pace and performance, while his teammate is relegated in 32nd place. That, of course, is Asuelio Almeida, who is making his way forward, but it's going to be a long race, even though there's only 26 minutes to go.
Yeah, Asuelio's really going to have his work cut out for him here. He is just trying to plug along here at this point. It's going to be a long road for him to try to make up, but we'll see what he can do. We focus in on his teammate, though, as we got another car around up through the Coca-Cola curve.
Nicolas Michel, and was that Jean-Philippe Dubois that might have gotten into him there as they came through to the final corner, turn 16. The 11, does he get some help from the 15 car? Ooh, he gets kind of squeezed middle, 3 wide there.
Yeah, got to put a little blame on that inside car. Going 3 wide down into that final corner very rarely works. But I'll tell you what, going 2 wide through these corners is certainly entertaining as we keep this battle up in the mid-pack.
Simon Theriault's got a great view of this. He's going to have Alex Ellis to the inside. A little bit of contact there from the number 5. Boots him off to the course. Drops the left side tires in the dirt as ahead of him. Jean-Guinon Renault and Zoran Savage side by side, a touch there. And Guinon Renault's almost going to run off course. He is off course now.
He's able to gather it back up before they get down into the corner, but still he's going to lose 2 positions there. And now it looks like another 15 there of Gregory Hovson trying to be able to make a little bit of a move here going down into Dunlop. Is he going to be able to make that work? I don't think so. Radisavage with a good defensive line down into the corner.
Who uncorked the shaken bottle? He spins the 18 car into the gravel trap.
And I think that is just a little bit of debris on the tires there, that's what forced him around. He definitely tried to be able to get his way into the corner, try to get the car to do a little bit more than he would have liked to. And Renault doing the right thing here, however frustrating it may be, waiting for those other cars to go on by and then joins the track.
It's such a sickening feeling watching everyone drive by you, but that was exactly the right thing. You see the shaking the head. It's almost a feeling of disgust as there's trouble ahead of him. Cars scattering everywhere as they come. One car on its lid.
And it looks like their Fung may have been involved in that War Cup. I saw Kardasioglu being counted as off. We take a look at the number 27. That's Justin Nazir. Let's see what happened, because this was massive calamity.
Oh, there's a couple cars. Oh my goodness. I didn't even really get a good view on who that was, but big impact there as they came out. It was the 4. That was Stephen Warcup, who gets just clobbered from behind up and over on his roof in 41st place now, and that is going to be the end of their night for sure.
Yeah, most certainly, and that's really unfortunate to have that kind of incident. There is another car is spun around going down into the Hauk Hook. That's Simon Theriault there. Oh my goodness, the 89. All of these drivers just saving their problems here for this feature race, Kyle.
We had that big incident at turn 1 in race 1, but then after that it was pretty tame. This one is just, they've lit the firecrackers and they've tossed them everywhere. Don't know where to look.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And now as we focus in on the number 5, as he tries to move his way up through the field here at this point, that's Alex Ellis. Let's take a look up at the lead, though, because out of nowhere, Trepanier now finds himself with a whole train of cars here. Adams, Legier, Bouchard, Caron, all closing in on him.
Oh yeah, Etienne Leger and Matt Adams for Porsche Center Mark Motors. This would be an excellent race if they could finish out just like this. Great points day for the Mark Motors Porsche Center. If they could finish 2nd and 3rd, they would basically get the points that remember which team it was in race 1. Was it Bouchard? No, it wasn't Reeve Sood. It was the other team that was up at the front. Remind me. Fazoui's team.
Fazoui's team.
Oh, it is Reeve Sood. Yeah, Reeve Sood.
It is Reeve Sood, yeah.
And La Charite. Lauzon was the one I was thinking of, who were 2nd and 3rd. So they would match the Lauzon team with that 2nd and 3rd with Adams and Leger, which that is a pretty stout team to be matching the points of early in the round. Here comes Phil Bouchard, though, to split the difference on the Mark Motors team. Here he comes for 3rd.
He's going to try to put that move in there. He's going to be side by side in an absolute drag race down the start-finish line. But the good news there for the 73 of Phil Bouchard is he's going to have the preferred line going down to the Hauk Hook if he's able to be later on the binders. It looks like he's going to try to here at this point, and that's going to be Caron trying to get involved in contact there between himself and Legier.
Caron just took that Porsche and jammed it down the inside. A little bit of side-by-side contact, but Bouchard and Caron will get through Etienne Leger as Matt Adams, his teammate, puts pressure, increased pressure now on Vincent Trepanier for the top spot. We still have 21 minutes to go in this race. I can't even imagine packing more action into 30 minutes for the spectators tonight.
Neither can I. I mean, this is just absolutely ridiculous. We can't look away from any battle before it fires off and becomes even better. As we watch right now, Bouchard trying to put some moves here on Matt Adams. Adams holding it off relatively well. Let's see what happens here. Trepanier not going to be under attack here going down into Dunlop.
No, but this is, I mean, you look at the time remaining and how much pressure Matt Adams is already applying. You have to be worried for Trepanier. Can he defend for 20 more minutes? We're only 1/3 of the way through this race. That's got to be a sickening feeling, seeing their mirror that full and have that much time left on the clock. It's going to be the longest 21 minutes of Vincent Trepanier's life.
Yeah, exactly. And what you have to do as a driver here in Vincent Trepanier's shoes is just absolutely do not look at that rear view mirror. You cannot focus on what is going on behind you. You can only focus on what is ahead and driving your own lines.
Well, look, there's nothing ahead right now. No lap traffic, nothing. So the track is clear. It's all about hitting your marks, which is something a lot of the drivers up front did very, very well. And so far, he's done that very well. But Matt Adams is certainly doing about as much as he can do to be a distraction to Trepanier. We haven't seen the headlights start flashing yet, haven't seen him pop out of line, but it's coming.
Yeah, I certainly think when we get down to the final 10 minutes, you'll start seeing those headlights flash. But we may see a move right here for Matt Adams. He's under 0.2 of a second as they come under the bridge. If he wants to poke his nose to the inside here, he could have move. There he goes.
Down the inside, Matt Adams on the brakes, but it's such a tight corner here, and the driver's line, preferred line, goes back to the left, and Trepannier's going to fight him back. A little bit of contact there. Now into the left-hander, and Trepanier holds him off. Adams sees the door open to the inside, though. Will he lunge up the inside at turn 3? He will not. Great defense from Trepanier.
Yes, and what that has done is that it's now allowed for the rest of the top 5 to catch back in on this battle. Bouchard, Caron, and Leger right there.
All in one camera shot. It is getting spicy for the top spot. Trepanier leads the way over Adams, Bouchard, Caron, Leger, Fazui, Lacharit, Levesque, Bergeron, and Alex Ellis, who's back inside the top 10. By the way, Swelio made it up to 21st place, doing the best he can to salvage the night after missing the grid for race 2.
I've got to give credit there to Swolio for trying to work his way through the field, but we've got a little bit of side-by-side, a little bit of banging and bumping there. That's Gregory Hofson and I believe Zoran Radisavage going at it.
Yeah, on board now with Romano, watching these two battle into the hairpin here. And Radisavage will lose that spot. Had some overlap, almost hooked the 15 into the gravel trap, but thought better of it, lifted and facilitated Hovesen going on by, but that was a high-octane maneuver there by the 15 on corner exit, taking that spot with gusto.
Yeah, he was not taking no for an answer there at that point. But I've got to say here for Radisavage, I don't think this battle is done, especially with the pressure that we're seeing from behind from Giovanni Romano there. Hovesen looked like he ran a little bit off track there at the moment. Let's see as they work their way through the sweeper. This could set up a little bit of a move for Radisavage.
Into the chicane now. This is a fast flick left-right. Ooh, he missed, maybe a little bit of arrow push, missed the turn-in point, and that will give Hovesen a little bit more ground as Romano and now Josh Manalo close the gap, 13th and 14th place. It's getting interesting here just outside of the top 10. Up front, things I don't want to say have calmed down, but they are a little bit more stable than they were last lap, but maybe not so. There's a lap car off to the left, and Matt Adams right on the tailpipes of the 87 again.
Yeah, I thought that lap car was going to be a little bit of a problem there, but everybody clearly able to avoid it and work around it. Adams not going for the attack that we saw through the arena section on the last lap. I think he's a little bit worried about Phil Bouchard coming up behind him. And indeed, it looks like Trepanier is a little bit of a cork in the bottle for all of these drivers, is now they've been able to have Fazui and Lacharit catch up to this pack.
Yeah, so what was just a couple cars is now a 6-horse race, a 7-horse race for first place. As Lacharit is really at the tail end of that party as they head down all the way to the Dunlop curve here at the far end of the racetrack. And this is kind of a single groove corner. You kind of lurch in there, grab an early apex, drift out, grab a late apex, and throttle up and accelerate away. And then you're leaning on downforce for the next handful of corners. But Trepanier's been doing a great job tonight. Started this race in first and has not given up. Even when he was side by side with Adams, he stayed in the throttle and has held on to this spot. Great defense.
Yeah, he certainly has, and I wonder here how much longer he's going to be able to hold this out, because remember, this is a 30-minute race, and that means tire wear is going to start to come into play here for these drivers. So if Trepanier is really leaning on those tires this early on in the race, he might find some of that speed diminishing as time goes along, and we'll have to see if Adams is maybe holding back a little bit. Maybe this man, Phil Bouchard, saving those tires for maybe the last 10 minutes of the race.
Yeah, Bouchard could really use some good points tonight after not having the best of rounds at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, so he's in position on the podium to grab some points, but there's even more points just ahead with Adams and Trepanier if he can get a little bit farther up the road. So we'll keep an eye on this battle as we have so far, because Adams now goes to driver's left here at turn 1.
All right, defensive move there from Trepanier and really feeding him out onto the outside of the circuit there, making sure he wasn't going to be able to poke his nose back down to the inside. Keep your eyes here on Phil Bouchard. You can see a dive down into turn 3 every once in a while. Bouchard didn't go for it, but he certainly thought about it. The language of that number 73 machine looking like they are hungry.
Issues for Josh Manalo, I believe. Let's have a look and see what happened to him. This was at turn number 1. Was it all on his own? Oh. Had a discontinuity or something, and that's why he lost some time. Dropped down to 17th place.
Yeah, and what that is for folks at home that aren't familiar with that, if you see a driver blink like that, that means their internet connection is not stable. Remember, these drivers are all over Canada here racing in this series, and so sometimes you just have those little spikes in internet traffic that'll take you away, and that'll show up here on the broadcast as a driver blinking like that.
You don't have cut tires, you don't have engine failures or parts failures in the simulated world, but you certainly do have a little bit of random chaos that can still take you out of a championship. It's just usually in the form of a physical hardware, electronic, or internet problem here in the esports world. But Trepanier leads Adams and Bouchard and Caron, and this continues to be one of the closest battles on the racetrack, so we're keeping you up front for now. But under half this race remaining, 15 minutes left on the board, and it's just getting started.
Yeah, it's just getting started here. The pressure is going to keep ratcheting up on Vincent Trepanier and Matt Adams here at this point. Bouchard, Caron, Legier, Fizui, Lacherit, all within position to take a victory here in this race. They are absolutely pushing to the extreme.
And think back early in this race, remember when Alex Ellis was battling for second place? He's now in 10th and has not been able to make any more progress as Adams goes down the inside for the lead and makes contact with Vincent Trepanier and muscles his way by Adams with a little bit of leaning on him, gets it done and goes to the lead.
Goes to the lead. Matt Adams up to the point here at this point, looking for a little bit of an attack back. Was Vincent Trepanier not able to get it done? Bouchard still hunting in behind, but look how close Trepanier is. He wants that spot back.
Well, Adams took it with force, and I was almost wondering if the same would be done with Trepanier. Here's a look at it again as they entered turn number 1. Adams kind of drifts off the apex there a little bit and then slams the door shut. Didn't leave him a lot of racetrack left, but at this level, it's absolutely cutthroat. And now Vincent's got to do his work to get it back. Adams dropping tire in the gravel. He's a little slow heading down to the Dunlop curve.
He's a little slow. That's why he moved off to driver's right there, tried to cover off that run from Vincent Trepanier. Didn't really need it. A little bit of front to end almost contact there.
Oh, I think he did hit him there, and it got the 17 a little destabilized mid-corner, but now he misses the apex there as Adams clobbers the curb. Sparks sailing out from underneath that 992 Generation Cup car. It is game on up front, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, it is absolutely race on, and that's a mistake there out of the 87.
I don't know, was it a mistake or did Bouchard give him the boot? Let's have a look.
Let's have a look indeed. That's Bouchard down to the inside.
He just beat him there.
Yeah, he just beat him there, and I think Trepanier had to get out of the way.
Yeah, Bouchard later on the brakes there, and yeah, Trepanier just had to leave the door open. That was an expert pass there by Bouchard just to jam it down the inside and go for it. Well done there as Adams now in the lead has Bouchard to look behind. Then it's Caron and Trepanier down to 4th place, so drops 4 spots in a lap.
Yeah, that is a rough lap for Vincent Trepanier, and now we're going to see his medal and what he's able to do. But look at this. Remember when I said Trepanier was a little bit of the cork in the bottle holding up the rest of this field? Look at the gap here from Matt Adams to Phil Bouchard. It was 0.5 of a second. It's there. You see Legier trying to be able to take a pass down to the inside of Trepanier.
Yeah, that got really aggressive, and Racine Fizui on his climb from 10th place at the start of this race up to 6th now, and looking for 5th on the inside of Etienne Leger, trying to climb up a little further up the field and grab some better place points here in this one.
Yeah, he's just trying to be able to get as much as possible. The 2 there of Legier just trying to fight in behind on Fizui, but Fizui able to get that corner well. Now it looks like Legier is going to have to watch out because Antoine Lacherit may be coming up behind him.
Yeah, Lacherit in the number 21 runs 7th right now. Ooh, Etienne took a shallow line, but is not able to do much with it. Up front, Adams now leads, but it's Phil Bouchard in 2nd place, and he's the one on the hunt now.
Yeah, he is on the hunt here. Look at his eyes. Look at what he's doing here. It's always fascinating to have these driver cams. You can see just how much, especially in a triple monitor setup like Bouchard is running, how much they are looking through the corner, out to corner exit midway through the corner. It's really impressive. And watch it. Watch here as he goes. He's not watching Adams. He's watching the track.
You have to race the racetrack. The competitors are just an obstacle that you eventually have to deal with. You're focusing on your marks. If you don't, and the driver ahead of you goes off, you're going to do the exact same thing as him. So it really is important to focus on the racetrack, and for Bouchard it's working. Here he comes for the top spot into the chicane, forces Adams to brake a little later. Bouchard is putting the pressure on Adams now, as Adams did to Trepanier. Here he comes to the inside in the final corner. Bouchard to the top spot.
Oh, that was brilliant from Phil Bouchard here, Kyle. He never had any intention of trying to make that pass going through the NGK chicane. Instead, he wanted to do exactly what you said, make Matt Adams break late, and he did, but now Adams back on the attack.
And look at how late he braked. Is it too late into turn one? Caron to the outside as well. Bouchard pretty conservative on the binders here, but Adams keeps the overlap to the inside. He's going to make contact and spin Bouchard around.
Oh my goodness gracious, contact up at the front of the field. Bouchard sent around back down in 8th. He's going to be able to gather the car and keep going, but absolute calamity at the front.
Oh boy, I wonder how they're going to view this. He was there, but by how much? That's not a call I'm willing to make. Balls and strikes,
Nope.
DJ.
Nope, I don't want to make that call. I do not envy race control here today.
Well, Matt Adams now has a bigger issue to deal with. That is Andrew Caron, is Vincent Trepanier. Now is Etienne Leger to his outside for 4th place, but it is far from over here at the front of the field with 9 minutes and 40 seconds remaining.
No, this is going to keep being just as electric as it is, as now we see a little bit of a move from behind there. Lacherie trying to maybe take a look at Leger, and then Trepanier up ahead of them, trying to be able to maybe get a move there. Here they go. Let's see, though, as they climb their way up the hill. Not seeing any moves coming through the Michael Schumacher S, but my goodness, this has just been absolute craziness, Kyle.
Yeah, this has taken a turn for sure. Phil Bouchard has recovered to 8th place, by the way, so still inside the top 10, but not in the lead where he was about a lap ago, and that was a frustrating scenario, I'm sure, but you can't fix it now. There's no going back. There's no rewind button. It's live esports. You got to put your head down and put your foot on the accelerator and go for it. Here comes Caron.
Yeah, Caron trying to give Matt Adams a little bit of his same medicine there, seeing if he can get Adams to outbrake himself, set him up for a run here into the Coca-Cola curve, but Matt Adams knows his own medicine. Caron here now in opposition to that, takes a later apex down through Coca-Cola, trying to maximize his speed down the straightaway. It looks like they're about even on pace here, but now the draft is going to come into play for Caron. Adams blocking down to the inside. Caron looking for the move.
Will it be a crossover here? Oh, Adams locks up, and to the inside goes Caron, and Adams drops 1, 2, 3 spots in one corner, and Trepanier muscles his way back by. They're going to make contact once, twice, maybe thrice here through turn number 2.
Banging and bumping and banging as they come down through the arena section. It looks like that Matt Adams is going to be able to hold that out, and you called this perfectly, Kyle. He just outbraked himself going into the corner.
That was what Caron was trying to do. He was going to cross him over either way, but now Adams is on the defense from the guy that he muscled out of the way a little while ago. Antoine Lacherie watching from 5th place as these two tangle for 4th. Make that 3rd as they head down into the corner.
Yeah,
oh, contact from behind, Etienne Leger. Oh, he spins.
Oh my goodness gracious, that's Leger facing the wrong way around on the circuit.
What is going on tonight? Is it a full moon in Germany tonight? Look at this. Etienne Leger sees the door open here as 21 breaks in behind and just gets in there too hot and loops it around.
Once again, that's a very tough move to judge there, Leger. There was cars opening there, but it was a very late move for that number 2 machine. I'm not sure how I would come down on that.
Well, Racine Fazouzi said not to jinx him, but look where he is, DJ. Started 10th, up to 2nd place now as he tracks down Caron for the lead with 7 minutes to go.
Well, and with 7 minutes to go here and a gap of 0.8 of a second back to Matt Adams, he can just focus on the hunt here at this point. Just trying to put some pressure to the back of Caron and see if he can be able to make him bite on a little bit of a run.
Right to the bumper, you see biting his lip. He's really in on it right now, trying to get up to the tailpipes of that 06. Absolute focus here. I love we're almost eye level with him here, and you can watch his eyes as we go down into turn number 1 here.
Yeah, there you can see what I was talking about earlier when we were watching Bouchard. See how far he's looking through that corner. You get a really, really good sense of it here at this point, just following the track all the way around with his eyes.
Battle is on. Porsche Center, Reeve Sood getting their show's worth tonight. Andrew Caron leading for Porsche Center. Halifax trying to cling on against all the teams and drivers he's been battling all night long. We've been watching the front for a little while. It's been where all the action has been, but we'll just check back in about 19th, 20th place. Enzo Johansson, Josiah Farrow, and where is the number 3 of Almeida up to 17th place? Because he started from the pits, don't have his graphic, but from 42nd to 17th in 25 minutes. That's impressive stuff.
Well, if you ever wondered why we sing the praises of Swilio Almeida, there it is. It's right behind Swilio there. A little bit of contact. That's Enzo Johansson having a little bit of a problem there, getting into it with it looked like, I think that was Manalo.
Yeah, that was Manalo in that car ahead. Johansson for Porsche Center Quebec. Josiah Farrow behind for Porsche Center London, and Blake Townend, Porsche Center Winnipeg. 20th, 21st. There's action all over the racetrack as Farrow and Johansson go back at it here.
Yeah, that's going to be a move in front there for Farrow to be able to hold off Johansson going through the Michael Schumacher S. It looks like Johansson wanted to try to send a little bit of a move there going into the Michelin curve, but that's not going to play itself out. A little bit farther behind them. Good run here with Romagnolo and Jean-Philippe Dubois.
We haven't really mentioned Jean-Philippe Dubois so far. Porsche Center Saskatchewan, and he started this race in 24th. He's up to, was as high as 17th, but has slipped backwards to 23rd later in this race. He's got Giuliano Romagnolo ahead of him, who we haven't talked a lot about tonight. Porsche Center Oakville has been at the front many seasons in the past. So far this season, though, hasn't really been running, I think, representatively. We'll see how he tracks throughout the season, but P22 for Romagnolo so far.
Yeah, good result there for him. He's going to try to continue to just build on that momentum here at this point, I think. You know, you're farther back down in the field. Any position you can get is going to be a good one. But I'll tell you what, the position that all of these drivers want is the one that Andrew Caron is in right now, up at the top of the charts.
Yeah, he's got this by about 0.4 of a second over Racine Fizui. Last time by, though, looking at lap times, Racine Fizui ran a 56.3. It was a little slower than the 56.2 that Caron ran. So Andrew trying to put distance on him, but the fact is it's only about 3 car lengths. Now 2, now 1 as we head into the hairpin.
Yeah, and it looked like there that Fizui may have, I thought he frankly overran that corner a little bit, but he was able to close that gap up. Fizui in full push mode here at this point as they come with about 3.5 minutes left to go.
It'll be 2 laps to go next time by the stripe. That means that time is running out for Racine Fizui to get the job done here for Porsche Center Rive Sud. And as a driver that has won many races in this series ahead of him, that's Andrew Caron, who drops a tire in the gravel, though. Was that a mistake big enough to give Fizui an opportunity? I don't think so.
No, it doesn't look like it here at this point. He's going to keep the pressure on, though, just see what he's able to do as they go down through the NGK chicane. Again, it's more of a setup corner than anything else, but with lap times at about 1:56, I believe this is the 2 to go mark.
Yeah, it looks like 2 laps to go here. So Caron leads Fizui. This time it's 0.33 seconds as they cross the stripe. That was faster for Fizui, so throws the advantage back the other way into the hands of the trailing driver. As in behind, Matt Adams runs 3rd. And is he completely out of this yet? He took the lead by force, lost the lead by a mistake, but if those front 2 tangle again, he's right there to take advantage of it.
Yeah, we've got a little bit of side-by-side farther back down in the field here. This is Levesque and Bouchard absolutely going at it. Former teammates, remember, as they were side-by-side down through the first couple of sections of the arena section.
Yeah, Levesque with Porsche Center Lausanne, and Bouchard with Porsche Center Rive Sud. Similar-looking liveries, but very much in competition this season. And then behind, Alex Ellis, remember him up in the top 3 early in this race. And Alex Bergeron, we haven't mentioned him a lot tonight, the other Porsche Center Quebec driver in the number 12. Good run for Alex in this second race of the evening.
Yeah, up 3 positions. He was the driver that started in 11th place, so the first driver out of that transfer position. And to be able to bring his way back forward into this, it's a good run here for the number 12.
Up in the front, Caron leads, but not by much over Racine Fizui. How much is left in the tank for Fizui?
Let's see. He certainly looks calm, cool, and collected here at this point, but the gap extending up to about 0.4 of a second as they come through the last couple of corners. It's going to close down again. He has got great speed on corner exit here, Kyle. That is going to be where we see Racine make a move, I think.
He's going to have 1 lap left to do it, and you're going to start counting your chances. There are 16 corners at this version of the Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit. And Andrew Caron will be counting everyone down, and Fizui as well. Final corner on the penultimate lap. White flag will be waving. 1 lap to go in round 2 of the Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge Canada. Fizui trails Caron, but not by much.
Not by much at all as they cross over the start line there. Here comes the move from Fuzui. No, he's going to come back into line.
Took a look, just trying to spook Andrew Caron into making a mistake that Matt Adams did, but he did not bite. Caron, with the experience of a race winner in this championship in previous seasons, maintains the lead. Does he grow it slightly now into the arena section?
Well, it's up to about 4.5 tenths of a second here, but remember what I said. Fuzui has been absolutely electric on corner exit here. He's going to be able to bring the gap down a little bit by taking a wider line on the exit of the arena section, but he's not going to be able to take advantage of that, just not long enough of a straight here as they run down through Valvoline.
Yeah, he didn't get on throttle quite as early, but Caron's a shallow line here. Fuzui closes, but look at the run that Caron was able to build, running out of corners and running out of opportunities. Fuzui has the lasers set to the tailpipes of that 06 into the Dunlop curve for the final time.
And a little bit of a more defensive line there from Caron, just hugging that apex all the way through. Again, Fuzui taking a little bit of a later apex, trying to maximize speed on corner exit. I think this is all going to come down here, Kyle, to the last couple of corners.
Caron has driven a great race, was able to get his way by when the leaders were tangling together. Fuzui, 6/10 back, he's lost some ground. Might be too little too late at this stage. Could he have beaten him in a 40-minute race? Maybe, but the time limit was 30 for this one. Half a lap, a quarter of a lap left. And Caron, it's been a long time since he's seen victory lane in the Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge Canada. How sweet of a victory would it be to return the victory circle tonight in the virtual Nurburgring here at iRacing? Last turn, last corner, Fuzui gave it all he's got, accelerating the flat six engine out of the final corner. Andrew Caron wins the Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge Canada Round 2 from the Nürburgring. Fuzui behind him in second by 0.3 of a second.
Matt Adams going to come home in P3, followed by Trepanier, Lacherit, and Bouchard, ending up that big battle that we saw. But we're going to look a little bit farther back down in the field as that's the 91 trying to make a move around the outside.
Going to try to cross over. That's Enzo Johansson on Josh Manalo, trying to cross him over in the final corner. Could not do it. P18, P19 for that duo of drivers as Arthur Chan, Nicky Chan, and Josh Arduini battle for 29th place. A little bit deeper in the field. Some damage on these cars, but battling the checkers nonetheless.
Yeah, as there's a little bit of a move, the 000 of Nicky Chan going very defensive down into NGK. As now they come, this could be a little bit of an opportunity here for Arduini. Is he going to look down to the inside of Coca-Cola? Chan sees him, gets out of the way, and that's going to be a brilliant spook off the line there for Arduini.
Josh Arduini to the checkers. He will steal 30th place from the 000 in the final moments. But no one was able to take it in the final moments from this guy, Andrew Caron in the 06. And he kicked off the first season of the Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge Canada with style. And if I recall, he won here in season 1. It's been a long time, a couple of years, but he will win round 2. And this is an important victory for Porsche of Halifax and for Andrew Caron. This is going to be a great points night for them. And for some other drivers, not a great night, DJ. There's lots of drama to talk about, but we documented Suelio Almeida not making the grid. Etienne Leger fell to 17th in that one after starting up front. Alex Ellis only 9th. Rassim Fuzui picked up almost max points this evening in that number 58. It'll be a great night for him, but for others, certainly some work to do heading into Interlagos next week.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot to try to make up here. I think a lot of drivers are going to have to be thinking about what they're going to want to do, looking at their mistakes, trying to maximize on it, but we'll have to see what they do as we take a look at the final finishing order.
Here's a look. Andrew Caron for Porsche Center Halifax, Rassim Fuzui for Porsche Center Rive Sud, and Matt Adams for Porsche Center Mark Motors. Those are your top 3, your podium finishers in the second race. Vincent Trepanier, has to be said, did an excellent job defending. I think he got the elbow shown to the chest there at one point, but he did a great job not making things worse. Top 5 for the 87.
Yeah, a really good run there for him as Trepanier just able to stick to it, and that's as simple as it is. Also want to give a little bit of credit there to Gregory Hovsen, who drove a great race to be able to move his way up through the field, up 12 positions.
Yeah, that was a great run. Alex Ellis, again, as we mentioned, we documented his issues in this race, was up in the mix, but ended up getting turned around. Looking down 11 through 20 is Zoran Radisavage for Porsche Center Winnipeg, Simon Theriault for Porsche Center Victoria, Giovanni Romano, Justin Ream, and Christopher Cook wrapping up the rest of the top 15. Suelio Almeida, despite missing the grid, finished 16th. He salvaged something out of it which will be good enough for some points, not as many as I'm sure he was hoping. Etienne Leger for Merc Motors. Strong start to race 2, DJ, but did not finish as strong as last week.
No, certainly not. He'll be a little bit disappointed with that, I have to think. He knows he could do a little bit better, and he's going to be hoping to do that here in the next couple of rounds, I've got to believe. Yeah,
I'd have to imagine that as well. Manalo, Johansson, and Romagnolo wrap up the rest of your top 20. And here are the remainder of your results. We're going to talk to your top 3 finishers from race number 2 here in just a moment's time. So stick with us here for the tail end of the broadcast here for the Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge Canada. There's a look down the last page here. The drivers that had the biggest trouble. Stephen Warkup upside down and backwards for Porsche Center Edmonton. He's already looking forward to next week, I'm sure. Gustavo Foisier also out early in this one.
Yeah, a couple of drivers having a bad run there, but they'll be able to get themselves back up forward in a week's time. Interlagos, an utterly different circuit, and it's going to be a big, big change here for them, I think.
It will certainly be a big change and a lot more flow to that racetrack, not as many straightaways perhaps. Let's talk to our third place finisher. It was Matt Adams in the number 17 car. Finished this race in the number 17 for Porsche Center Mark Motors. But Matt, you tasted the lead at one point. It was elbows out. Take us through your perspective of tonight's race.
I'll be honest, I'm not terribly happy with my race tonight. Feel really bad for getting into Alex early on. I am hearing there was some netcode involved, but never want to get into someone that, like when you don't have to. And also with Phil, my spotter never said it was clear, so I wasn't sure how much overlap and just kept it on the inside when I probably should have backed out. So I'm taking full blame for those incidents and don't feel like it's a well-deserved P3.
Well, you know, some nights are like that, unfortunately, Matt, and it was, I know that a lot of it happened in your mirror, but there was a lot of issues like that in general tonight. It was a dramatic race from our perspective, certainly fun to watch, as I think we're watching the lap where you get into the 73, but regardless of the guilt you might feel about it, Matt, you've got points, so how do you feel about heading into Interlagos next week? Is this going to be a positive momentum despite the issues tonight, or are you looking to just have a cleaner race next week?
Definitely looking for a cleaner race, and I'm looking forward to Interlagos. I like this track, but whenever you're trying to pass here, you really have to be 100% on the limit, and that can cause issues, as we saw. So I'm looking forward to Interlagos, where the passing opportunities are more plentiful, and it's a little bit wider of the track.
Well, Matt, hey, congratulations. The podium's a podium. We'll see you next week. Best of luck to you there.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. We'll move on now to Racine Fazui in the number 58 car, who brought his team home in position number 2 in race number 2. Race 1 was a win. Race 2 was a second. Racine, hey, I didn't jinx you. It was a strong run there in race number 2. Fun to watch for sure. There was a lot of drama there that kind of helped facilitate the passing up through the field, Racine. But second place, first in race 1, a great points night for you in Porsche Center Rive Sud.
Yes and no. I want to begin with apologizing to Guillaume. We had a side-by-side contact because I over-defended from Alex. I'll check the replay right now, what it looked like. But I tried to minimize the damage as much as possible. We hit each other side-by-side. But he's a buddy of mine, so I want to apologize to him. But yeah, I mean, I was on 18X behind Andrew. Pace wasn't quite there today. And I was like, you know what? I'll grab points. Phil got turned. He made it back up the pack. I'll just get as many points as possible and move on to Sebring. Let's hope it's going to be a much better track for us.
Racine, thanks for chatting with us. Best of luck to you next round. We'll see you there.
So.
Andrew Caron gets it done in race number 2 of round number 2. Andrew, returning to victory lane. Congratulations. It's been a little while, so happy to see you back. Welcome back, and congratulations on your win tonight.
Thanks a lot. I mean, today I really wanted to have good results because of the first race for this year. But you know, I have put all the practice I could do, and it really went well. I got a good qualifying. Then got some good point in the sprint race, and it got really chaotic into the long race, but I managed to make my way up first and keep it, so I'm really happy with that.
Oh, it's a great run for you and for Porsche Center Halifax. So looking at, as we had to Sebring next week, I misspoke earlier, so apologies for that. Sebring is our next round. Bit of a different racetrack than this one. A little bit more point and shoot, the bumps. It's going to be a fun racetrack for sure, but how do you feel about your pace heading into round 3 next week?
I think I got a really good pace at Sebring. It was a lot in the official sessions, and a lot of event went there. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think me and my teammates will be pretty fast there with Grigory, so we'll do our best there.
Andrew Caron gets it done here at the Nurburgring. Andrew, thanks so much for chatting with us, and we'll see you next round.
Thanks a lot. I just want to thank my sponsor. I want to thank Porsche Esports. I want to thank Advanced Motorsport and Simicube.
Thanks, Andrew. We'll see you at Sebring.
Thank you.
That will wrap things up here from the top 3. DJ, let's look through the results one more time here. Exciting race. I think we knew that coming in. It was going to be that way, but I think we got more than maybe than we bargained for in race 2 specifically. Dramatic up front. You know what's great to see, though, is the sportsmanship from both Racine and from Matt Adams, involved in some incidents there, taking responsibility for those contacts, but points to the points. They're going to get some after finishing on the podium.
Yeah, exactly. And you read my mind about that, Kyle. I love being able to hear that from drivers when they come out. If there is contact that they feel is a little bit on the wrong side of things, that immediately owning up to it. Very, very good sportsmanship and competitiveness from the rest of the field here. Justin Ream in 14th. Swilio up 16. I think if he gets a good qualifying next time, he could be one that we're looking at for the win of this race.
It certainly could be the case. As far as next week goes, as I mentioned earlier, I was looking the wrong part of the schedule. Interlagos will be race number 7. That will be on May 11th. But next week, March 30th, we're headed to Sebring International Raceway. That is a track that, DJ, you and I have both been to. It's a great North American road course, very different than anything else we have on the calendar. Certainly bumpy, certainly a challenge, but very different than the Nurburgring.
Yeah, very, very much so. Some long straightaways, plenty of overtaking opportunities. The draft going to be in big display there, but with the no traction control, no ABS, you're going to have to respect the bumps as you always do around Sebring.
What a fantastic night of racing for the Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge Canada. Thanks again to Grid Engineering, to Porsche Canada, to Tag Heuer, as well as Bose and Apex V2R. I'm Kyle Heyer alongside DJ Clark. Next week, I'll be absent, but we'll be holding down the action for you here just the same. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you at round number 3, Sebring International Raceway, next week for the 3rd round of the Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge Canada. We'll see you there.